BoyleSports World Grand Prix on Sky Sports.
Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It is Monday, it is 8 PM, which can mean only one thing. It is the Online Darts Live Lounge with me, Phill Bars, Jack Gobby Garwood, and Lee Boyce. And we're going to spend the next 2 hours dissecting the last 10 days or so in the darting world, talking absolute nonsense as always. Gentlemen, how are we?
We're getting there. We are getting there. Your intro is getting there. It used to be the next hour or so. We're working on that bit. You're getting the timing right. Now, come on. We don't talk nonsense on this show. We just dish out cold-hearted facts. Or I do. You two chat rubbish, and I tell you why you're wrong anyway.
It's been a long week or so. Boyce, you got your breath back yet?
It's not been bad. I'm just wondering what we're going to fill the time with. What we're going to talk about. It's not much happening, is it?
It's been one or two bits to talk about, isn't there?
I mean, we were in the same room for the first time ever, by the way. Like, what an achievement that is.
Yeah.
We finally
I think I'd rather I hadn't been, given what shirt you were wearing, but you know. You promised me that was coming out again tonight as well. You bottled it, Mr. Boyce.
It's in the wash, mate. It's in the wash. We'll deal with that one.
Yeah. In a bin, more like.
2 seconds. Someone said my audio's low. We tested it beforehand, and it was all right. Hopefully, that's a little bit better. James, let us know. I've just turned it up a bit. So let us know.
We knew you were quiet. We just wanted to keep it that way, so no one else can hear your rubbish.
I was going to say, Dom messaged me and said, tell him he's loud.
Yeah, brilliant.
Oh, don't worry. I've got plenty of nonsense and rubbish to talk about. Don't you worry about that.
We do not doubt you one little bit, Mr. Bars.
Yes.
Hello to everyone in the chat room, by the way. Normally, we've done that by now. It's 5 minutes past, and we haven't said hello to everybody. Hello to Kieran, to Stuart, to Paddy, to Terence, to Jeez, Maddie, Missy. Maddie, where did that come from? Daniel Vernon's in. Hello, mate. Andrew Kinsman. Did I see Niall Collerton in as well? Of course I did, because I saw the little wolf emojis. And your regulars in. Don't forget. Oh, 61 votes on the poll already.
2 tight as well at the minute. That's tight at the moment.
I've just turned it up again, James. Don't want to keep bottling it, or I kept going too high the last week and it was a nightmare to edit. So just playing with the audio, but fingers crossed that should be okay. I'm sure you'll all let me know if I start crackling again where it's too loud. But boys, the BoyleSports World Grand Prix did not disappoint, did it?
I mean, it did for our predictions, because both of Boise's finalists were gone within 24 hours. I don't think mine fared much better.
No, that didn't disappoint. That was expectations met. That's what that was.
Yeah, to be fair, you just jinxed them.
I did apologise to both. I did apologise on the last live lounge to both players, because we knew what was going to happen. I didn't expect both to fall first round now, but there we go.
There are quite a few players that will be watching this as well, and every week when you call their name out, they're going to be like, oh, shit it out.
To be fair, I got one finalist, so I'll take that.
I don't even remember. I don't remember yesterday, to be honest, so I don't know what I said this time. 2 weeks ago.
Phil, your other finalists did dip first round.
Yeah, you can't have it all.
I'd like a little bit.
To be fair though, boys, we'll come on to it more in a minute. But I can't believe it was a week ago that Massacre Monday happened. Where has that week gone? Because this time last week, it was an absolute bloodbath in Leicester.
We sat here 2 weeks ago and went, this draw is amazing. Absolutely nobody is safe. And then after night one, I was like, most of them pretty much went the way you expected and that sort of thing. There was a couple of tight ones that you could have gone either way. Ross Smith, probably the biggest upset on that opening night, I think. If my memory serves me correctly. If you want to call that an upset as well, he's been playing pretty well. Gurney was a little bit disappointing, but I think the 2-0 scorelines are more worrying than the results. Van Dijvenbode going down 2-0. Expected that to be tighter, but you still wouldn't have been surprised if Humphreys won it. And at that point, I'm like, well, here we go again. It's just going to be the big guys clashing later on, which, don't get me wrong, is a very good draw, but we're going to look like absolute idiots for sitting here saying nobody is safe. And then Monday happens and we're like, oh, crap.
Yeah. Look, it was just unreal, some of the stuff that we saw. We're going to put the draw bracket up for you all. We're not going to go through every game because we did that on the Fallout Bar where the boys absolutely smashed it. But we're going to duck in and out of some games. We've got some clips to play you as well. That was one thing, boys. The media clips were electric. I'm just going to call him out now because he played on night one. Anyone that noticed the James Wade interview, yes, it had about 400 million thousand edits because he was an absolute tool.
Oh, we're doing that now, are we?
I think you'll find you boys have listened to the original clip, so you know.
Yeah, right. If that's how we're starting, it's going to be a good 2 hours. That's all I'm saying.
Before we do start, I just want to bring up Joseph's point in the chat room. Joint walk-ons need looking at. Absolute joke that was still happening in the second round.
Yeah, I agree. Look, first round, I get it because it's 8 games in a match. But after the first round, I'm completely with you. No need for it whatsoever.
How much longer does the second walk-on take? 2 minutes?
Not even that.
An extra 8 players on the night is effectively an extra 8 walk-ons at that point is 15 minutes of programming.
Yeah, I don't even think it's 15.
There's absolutely no way timings are that tight. They cannot find 15 minutes of programming so that every player gets their walk-on. Don't give me that because I just don't buy it.
I do understand it. I do understand it a bit night one, but when night one, night two, but when you're having Tuesday, Wednesday, the same games as you are on Thursday, but Thursday's got proper walk-ons and Tuesday, Wednesday haven't. That makes no sense. Like, what's the explanation behind that one? The first game ones are there, but when they're the same length of games, the same amount of games, no, can't understand the logic. Program's the same length.
Sunday, the atmosphere was decent because it was a pretty full crowd. That's what happens on a weekend. The early part of the rest of the week, it was pretty flat, but it was only half full. But midweek, 6 o'clock start in Leicester, okay, you get similar at the City West, and we call that out for being massively remote. I don't think the starting time being the same as what it would have been in Ireland helped. But it did finish pretty late anyway. But I'm not being funny. Those walk-ons have become part and parcel of the game and the product that the PDC have. And when you're struggling for an atmosphere, the one thing that can get an atmosphere going is the individual players' walk-ons and the crowd singing them because they'll continue them through the game or they'll get behind one of the 2 players because of it. They'll make a bit of noise for it. Like, that. Especially as it was the same 6 songs they seem to use on repeat for the joint walk-ons all week.
Yeah, look, it is what it is. The decision was made and not a lot we can do about it. But Sunday seems a while ago. Like we said, Merv King dispatching of Martijn Kleermaker. That he was just in complete control. Kleermaker was disappointing, if I'm being honest, boys.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Expected more.
Luke Humphreys dispatched of Dirk. Bunting dispatched of Gurney. Ross Smith, a below par Joe Cullen. But look, there's obviously stuff going on behind the scenes with Joe. We saw that at the World Match Play that he openly said about. And by the look of his body language, I don't think they're anywhere near resolved yet. So look, sometimes darts takes a back seat. Then Dave Chisnall, Mensur Sulovic. Decent game, this one, boys. And Chisnall, not lucky's the wrong word, but just Mensur just dropped off in that final set.
Yeah, look, we haven't seen Mensur a lot this year. He's finally made his comeback at the World Cup, and he's been a bit good since then. We all love a bit of Mensur. When Mensur's playing well, he's brilliant for the game. He's brilliant to just be there. And it looked like he was going to make the comeback. The momentum swung, and then it just disappeared for him in the final set. Chizzy, look, I don't know how many times we said this in the preview over the last week, and we're going to say it again now. No doubt we'll say it a little bit more through this evening, but Dave Chisnall's record at this event is so good. For a man whose action that we constantly say does not hold up under pressure, the release is wrong and everything else, to do a double-in format where his starting double is up there with the best that play in this event, and in set play, which means there's even more moments of tension and nerves, I have absolutely no idea how Dave Chisnall does anywhere near as well as he does at the World Grand Prix, but he does it.
The next one, I'm going to call it now. God, poor boy got extremely lucky. James Wade beating Damon Heta 2-1. But how he has burgled that first set, absolute daylight robbery from the machine.
Thing, if you look it up in the dictionary, it's under wading. Because that's just what he does.
Is that the new one? Is that the same as ferreting? Hitting 3-figure outs for fun?
Wading's been around a lot longer than ferreting, I can tell you
that. No, but look, James Wade
found a way to win. Slap bang in the middle of the bullseye. I was like, no way.
The world number one, the world champion, the Iceman, Gerwyn Price, top performance. Boise 2-0 and beating Michael Smith, and in spells, unplayable in this one.
Yeah, it was one that I think a lot of people expected to be a lot closer. As with a lot of them on night one, to be honest. We expected a lot more 2-1s on the night. Michael Smith started okay, but then dipped, and Gerwyn Price just didn't let off at all. To average anywhere near around 100 at a double start is just ridiculous anyway. For Gerwyn Price to do it on night one when he's defending his title just showed that he was certainly pumped up for it, and of course that I was wrong to tip him not to progress through. But it was an outstanding performance from Gerwyn Price. And
then Ryan Searle beating Dimitri Vandenberg 2-1. Great game, and I was pleased Dimitri played better because there was concerns heading into this tournament, around Dimitri's form. But although he lost, the mannerism and the performance was much improved.
Yeah, I've only really just looked at the stats for this one. First time in the week, considering I was on the fallout bar all week talking about it. The 94 average from Dimmy's pretty impressive, but wrong things at the wrong moments, I guess, is the key to that one.
From this one, we've got a couple of clips from day one. This was the first time the new Unicorn board had been used. A couple of them spoke about it. We'll talk about one of the clips afterwards because it wasn't a good look, but we've got Merv and we've got Ryan Searle.
And that's it. I'm sorry, I can hear Wayne Mardle in the background and he's doing my head in because he knows absolutely nothing about what he's saying.
First person to use the new dartboard, the new matchboard. Oh, and the Merv clip cut off for some reason, but we'll go to...
So instead of adding it to the bit we want, we've got him insulted Wayne.
Yeah, the ball was soft. We changed it before the match started. The second board was a little bit soft as well. We managed to get the third board up, and that one seemed all right. And just went from there really.
The new Unicorn board, the general census, as Merv said, It started off hard but softened up under the lights as the others did, and the Searle game wasn't a good look as there was 3 boards after only a set, boys. Overriding thoughts of the new board from what you saw on TV?
For me, from what I've seen of it on TV and everywhere else, aesthetically it looks okay. I like the look of it a little bit. I think the issue with the boards going soft under lights, I think any board's going to do that. If you've got a light ring on it or anything like that after time, it is going to go softer, especially after you start putting holes in it. After 3 sets, probably not wanting that, but after 6 or 7 maybe. And look, the fact that they've had to change the board twice before they've even started, that's an issue with storage, and it's always been the same problem with the PDC. You might get the odd batch that aren't quite there, but these are new enough. You expect them to be quality checked and that sort of thing. We've been at events and just seen dartboards lying around that then become match boards. They have to be looked after better before they go up on stage.
Yeah, it was the Luke Humphreys Searle game, Boise, where literally Luke's dart was going into the barrel. All of the point was disappearing in that first set.
Yeah, Luke and Dirt.
Luke and Searle in the second round when his dart was just disappearing into the board.
Sorry, yeah. That's the thing. I think for me, we expect now to see them damaged. I'm not saying they should be, but we expect to see them damaged a bit after 3-4 sets in this sort of play. When they're changing so often, so soon, and also how we're seeing the darts laying the board is huge concern. So it's no surprise whatsoever to see that the players aren't playing the bed on, and like I says, that was in the early rounds. There always seems to be these issues with them. You don't matter what boards we get to, there always seems to be these issues with them.
And then from there, all eyes turn to Massacre Monday. What's that, mate?
Bazzy. More dartboards. There's people talking about the price and that sort of thing in the chat room as well. And
yeah,
look, yes, it is expensive, but actually that's to be expected given that we've had increased shipping rates and that sort of thing coming into the country as it is. Don't get me wrong, there have been other releases recently that keep those prices down a little bit, but I suspect those manufacturers are taking a little bit more of a knock to just be competitive in the market. And the other thing is, we are so spoiled now because all we ever seem to see on TV is fresh, brand new boards, and they change them so frequently, so behind the scenes in the advert breaks and that sort of thing, that all you're seeing is a brand new, fresh board pretty much all of the time. So that's what everybody expects their dartboard to look like. You're poking a sharp, pointy thing into something wooden. If you're paying 90 quid for a board you're going to practice on at home, that's your fault. These boards are premium boards that are pretty much going to be used for this level or matches or something where you want it to look good for a short period of time. It will hold up long enough. And 90 quid is on the manufacturer's website, by the way. You can get it for 75. So 15 quid is a big difference we're talking about in terms of that, because you're looking at nearly 15% of the price.
Yeah. No, agreed. But boys, Massacre Monday, as it was re-nicknamed. First of all, Darius Labanauskas 2-1 over Brendan Dolan. Good game, enjoyed that one. The Ferret disposed of a below par Callum Ridge. Just didn't happen for the Wright. Big Vincent. We'll come on to Vincent in a minute. Then Ratajski beating Aspinall. That was the first one. Then this man, the unflying Scotsman, boys, let's be honest, he had an absolute shocker on TV. Ian White fell over the line. And when I mean fell over, I mean fell over the line. Are things starting to catch up with Gary Anderson, Gob, in terms of, yes, he's putting a little bit of practice in here and there, but nowhere near as much as the other top players. Is that now beginning to show?
I think in this format, it highlights it a lot more because you do have to be so clinical on the outer ring to get in and out. And he struggled a bit both ways. It's always going to catch up with you. There's only so much natural ability you can have. There is an optimum amount of practice for every single player. Not every player has to stand at a board and throw for 8 hours a day like Michael Smith. Right? I've been around pros that barely like an hour a day, but they will play regular competitive stuff. The problem is that Gary's just not picking his darts up at all. And the fact that he is still where he is in the world and everything else is a ridiculous achievement given how little he practiced and how, relative to Gary Anderson's success, how badly he played last year and was still making major ranking finals. I'm not sure if that's a downside on the rest of the field or what, considering there's plenty of talk about this being the toughest and greatest era for darts ever and how competitive the field is. If that man's walking to events finals on his C game, not sure it's really that tough. But yeah, it is catching up on him now. And when he come out of the World Championships swinging from the hips at pundits and commentators, the same one that Mervyn King just had a pop at, saying he's going to stick around forever and he's going to get the fire back in his belly and that sort of thing. I was desperate for that to be true and for that to just be genuine and Gary to be edging towards top level Gary Anderson 2016, 2017, where he just picks up titles wherever he wanted and battered people off the hockey. And I just can't see it happening. The man's got different priorities in his life. He's up there to take the money for as long as it keeps rolling in, and once it's done, that's it.
Yeah,
I'm not convinced on that job. I'm not convinced
on,
on that at all. I think there's still some fight in there. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, that he's not giving up the fight of this when he's on the stage, but I still think there's levels he can achieve, probably in a different state, a different part of his career than, say, when we spoke about Adrian Lewis. I think the levels that Anderson has hit, he's already peaked, and he don't get back to those levels. But I still think there's more titles in him, just maybe not the big one.
Then, from there, the massacres continued, and this one was strange. Yes, Rob Cross is playing very, very well at the moment, but this was a very, very off night for Peter Wright. Just didn't look himself on stage. Forget the darts weren't the standard we expect from Peter. He didn't look himself up there. His demeanour was quiet. He just didn't have that energy or that zap around him.
Yeah, spot on, mate. There was definitely something missing. There's obviously looked at from the two players. Rob Cross come on and done well, and we've seen him playing better. But then Peter Wright, it wasn't the entertainer as such that we see from Peter Wright, and that's not just normally with his darts. And obviously the Wharton's not there, but generally his persona on the stage, we didn't seem to see any of that at all on Monday. No real surprise at us in the result as Tosh is playing well. It was the manner of it and the fact that even early on, it never really looked like that Peter Wright was going to win that game, which we've seen him lose games over the past 12 months, but not in that manner. And that's probably the first time I've seen him being not like says, not the same entertainer, and which has got him to perform to the levels and winning the world champion that he has. So worrying in that aspect, but it can change very quickly, as we might see this weekend.
Yeah. Evening, Henry. Hope you are well, mate. Right. We'll get the pictures out of the way first, then we're going to jump into them. We've got a couple of big comments coming up. Danny Noppert dumping out Michael Van Gerwen 2-0. A very interesting one, this one. MVG managed to throw away a two-leg lead to lose the first set. Came out in the second set and for 2 legs was unplayable. Danny, I think it was a 103 or a 106. Completely changed the context of that second set. And then only afterwards, boys, did we learn of some issues, shall we say?
The dark arts. Looks a bit like Voldemort too, doesn't it?
Right, let's fire up
Go on, play the clip.
Danny. First of all, here's what Danny had to say. It's not the whole one, but this is the clip afterwards.
But first I want to say we have some troubles in the first set. And I say to him, you're stepping on the floor when I'm on a double. And we make some words with each other after the first set. But
Do you feel he was doing it deliberately?
For my feeling it was. But he say, I think like a player like Michael, he doesn't do that. But for my feeling it was.
Interesting. First of all, before we go into it, I spoke to Iron, who does all RTL's coverage, obviously, so he spoke to both of them afterwards. And when he says there was words exchanged, they were very heated words by all accounts. This wasn't just a stop it. This was a proper, absolute slanging match in the break.
And you didn't have your camera there ready to see it all. What on earth were you doing there all week?
Well, we're not allowed in that.
Living it up on takeaway Wagamamas. We know your game, Mr. Bars.
I only had two. That was good.
I didn't even know that.
Right. First thing I'm going to say is that's a big statement from Danny Noppert to call Michael a cheat. There's a huge difference between asking someone to say, look, I think I can hear you moving. Can you just try not to? And labelling someone doing it deliberately and calling them a cheat gob. It's a funny way for Danny Noppert to say, I don't want to play in the World Cup again. I mean...
Because that's never happened before in that nationalities team, has it? Look, I can see it from Danny's point. In the heat of the moment, it's very easy to think that Danny's on to beat him. At that point, he's playing well. He's got a shot for the first set, I think it was. You hear that noise and all you can think is, why are you doing that? Especially given how close Michael is stood. And this is the point that I've made. Whether he's stomped or not, he shouldn't be standing that close. And don't get me wrong, there are other players. This isn't a dig at Michael van Gogh in the same way that celebrating or whatever, and not everything's a dig at Gerwyn Price whenever we make observations about his behaviour when we're comparing it to other players. Get out the exclusion zone. It is there for a reason. The minute you're stood in that exclusion zone and a player turns around and catches you, and then he hears an extra noise as well, what are you doing? He has every right to turn around and kick off. Whether the players like that or not, there have been enough incidents involving the former world number one where players haven't liked his behaviour that's been marginal gamesmanship in the last 5-6 years when he's been world number one and dominating on floor events. And there's been plenty of people where it's kicked off with where we haven't seen it on TV. That your man's been rumbled.
Just a couple of bits on that. First of all, we'll do the exclusion zone bit. Look, absolutely, Michael is always in the exclusion zone. But like you said, he's not the only one. If you actually look at it, I'd probably say 85% of the field at some point are in that exclusion zone, and I don't think I'm being outrageous with that number.
And at that point, and what people might not realise is there is a second official for every game that is stood to the side of the stage that should be telling the match official, get them out the exclusion zone. And actually, this might be the catalyst to make sure that happens and that players are warned and told to step back. It is there for a reason. Give the player their space. Like I've just said, the minute you're caught in there, even if Michael stamped deliberate or not, the minute you're stood there, you literally have no leg to stand on. Because it's all right once there's no incidents, but the minute there's an incident while you're in the exclusion zone, you're already breaking a rule.
And then off the back of that, it was checked by all the PDC officials, and not one of them saw Michael van Gogh stomping, which was clarified afterwards that it was checked by multiple officials, and there was no physical evidence to say Michael van Gogh had stamped whilst he was on a double, which is obviously, in the balance of fairness, we'll give every bit. Danny's obviously said his bit. We haven't spoken to Michael yet. Hopefully this weekend. So it's an interesting one, boys. Where are we siding with this one? Not siding is the wrong word, but where are we going with this one? Who's right and who's wrong?
It's split for me. It's hard to say that someone's right or wrong. If they've checked it and they've checked it efficiently, then it's hard to see that MVG's in the run. However, if he's then in the exclusion zone, then he's doing something wrong. So for me, it's a bit of 50-50. I'm not convinced, Dob. I'm not convinced by your point of this being the catalyst for that to be checked more, because I'm sure it happened a lot more throughout the week. I'm 100% sure it happened across the rest of the week.
No, but I'm hoping that after this tournament, they're going to get together and go, right, we're going to put this system in place. Yeah. It's a bit difficult to change it mid-tournament, if you get what I mean, or put some sort of communication in. Or I'm pretty sure the marker to the referee's right is mic'd up as well. So they've got a communication between someone off stage, so they could hear it. A little nudge in the back going, you need to have a word or something. It's not a difficult solution, but it's one that needs to happen. Look, heat of the battle in a big televised tournament where Danny Noppert's in the ascendancy. He feels like he's heard something. He turns around to see Michael stood too close where he shouldn't be. Yes, calling a cheat is very strong, but at the same time, if you're in the exclusion zone deliberately, technically you are breaking a rule. The issue is that the communication afterwards and the conversation between them. But after Danny got bottled last week, pretty much, when he should have beaten Michael in his head-to-head record as well, in the heat of battle, these conversations and these things happen. I've seen a lot worse.
Oh, yeah,
people rattling their dice. Manly Adrian Lewis. Wow.
Oh, but believe me, back in the day, Adrian Lewis could find a loose floorboard in any venue.
So could Peter Manley.
Yeah, look, don't get me wrong. The thing not to forget is that Danny Noppert played absolutely sublime in this game.
Yeah.
I know we all get caught up in Stompgate and everything like that, but Danny Noppert was absolutely tremendous in this game.
Yeah, and this had a potential. The follow-on from what happened after the game had a potential to have a knock-on effect for his week, but fair play for Danny Noppert, who after the first round seemed to put it to one side. I've spoke very highly of him this week, but it's very hard to sway to one side on this one.
Evening, Mason's in the chat room. Join us at a good time because we are about to play Mr. Vincent. Now, this is 1 minute and 8 seconds of absolute gold.
I mean, we have so much tournaments that doesn't really matter, and that they were all the last couple of weeks. I mean, no disrespect to the World Cup or the World Series, but it's just exhibition tournaments. So it's good to be back and playing real tournaments. Yeah, hopefully, but it's not like we play frequently now. It's really difficult. I mean, considering the European Championship is just absolute disgrace that it held the way it is. So you're not able to play for it. And before I say something really bad about PDC again, so let's leave it there.
What criteria would you like to have seen for the Europeans?
Oh, you have so many things. I mean, you knew in March that there will not be a lot of Euro Tours, so you could have done not 2 tournaments, but saying okay, the Pro Tours are involved or anything else, and you could have made it a lot more fair.
One man that never disappoints when you put a microphone in front of him, the Dutch destroyer, Vincent van der Voort. We'll come on to that more when we talk about the European Championships, but when he called the World Cup an exhibition, I don't think Matt Porter enjoyed that one too much.
Myself and Jar have spoken to Matt and referred to the World Series and that as an exhibition, and he's like, no, it's a TV title. Like, the PDC are very set in their ways that nothing is an exhibition for them.
Vincent very, very unhappy with the criteria. and everything around the Dutch destroyer never disappoints. We'll touch on what he said later on when we talk about the draw for the World Series, because there is a very notable absentee. No spoilers there. Right, let's get the draw back up.
I actually admire his restraint in that interview, by the way. That's very unlike Vinny to stop himself.
Oh, yeah, I loved it when he went, I'm going to stop there before I absolutely destroy the PDC.
Yeah. It's not something that Vinny does very often.
No. So, moving back on, that was the first round complete. Tuesday, I'd probably say only one shock. Ryan Searle beating Luke Humphries. I don't think that's a shock. I think both could have won that game. The shock, Stephen Bunting beating James Wade in the manner that he did. A very out of sorts James Wade. God, he was never really in the game.
Just chasing constantly, 185 average. Bunting finished with an 86. Slightly down on a double score at 13. Bunting 11 out of 23, but just battered on the 180s, an extra 5 from Bunting. He just kept him at arm's length once he got ahead, really.
Yeah, then the Iceman Gerwyn Price beating Mervyn King and Dave Chisnell beating Ross Smith in a comeback that Smudger will be kicking himself. There was opportunities there. Then moving on to Wednesday, Ian White 3-2 over Darius. That game seemed to take forever, full of drama. Quality, not the best, but in terms of drama, loved every minute of it. The Polish Eagles soared against Rob Cross. Very accomplished performance from the Polish Eagles. Danny Noppert won the Dutch derby 3-0 over Vincent van der Voort. And then the Ferret dismantling Jose de Souza, especially in the last 2 sets.
Yeah, very much so. It was the game of the night. It was looking at the fixtures on that night, because of what happened on the Monday. That was the one game that everyone was really looking for and really expecting it to be run very close. And then Jonny Clayton just stepped up the last 2 sets, and Jose couldn't go with him and dropped off. But yeah, it was the one game that night, I guess, that was looking for something that was expecting a bit more of a game than what we actually got.
Then moving on, quarterfinals. Danny Noppert 3-1 over Ian White. Not too much of a surprise there. Noppy been playing some fantastic stuff, moving in to a PDC TV semi-final. Then this was an epic. Jonny Clayton 3-2 over Krzysztof Ratajski, and Clayton's doubling both in and out. Just world class gob. Yeah,
in a double in, double out tournament, the best doubler kept on winning. He was ridiculous on the outer ring this week, and that he goes through these patches where he's sensational, but you always feel like he's got a few legs off or a blip in him, and he just did not seem to miss at all. Ratajski solid, beaten by a very, very good performance. He's getting there though, isn't he? 50% on the outer ring from him. Expecting big things from the Polish Eagle for the rest of the year.
Then Gerwyn Price beating Dave Chisnell, but this is where we start to load more clips up. This one is courtesy of Sky Sports off their Twitter. And this one caused a little bit of a storm, boys.
Right, Gezi, I say this as a compliment. There's plenty more in the tank for you, and you're in the semi-final.
Yeah, it's a lot more in the tank for me. It was a difficult game. Obviously, crowd a bit rubbish again, but as you can hear, I won. So no matter what they do, I'll keep winning.
Wasn't Dave's best night, but the world #1 shows you pounce, and that's what you did.
Yeah. I mean, give me an opportunity, and I'll take it. I thought I bombed the second set after missing 25, and then I think I took out a 104 then the next leg. But yeah, crowd are absolutely pathetic. I won.
But I mean, there's plenty of Welsh flags as well. There's plenty of support for you in here as well.
Yeah, it's a little bit.
Do you feel there's a bit of a lack of respect sometimes?
What do you think?
Yeah. But look, you are the world #1 for a reason. Those performances, Are you looking? You're world number one. You're looking to dominate now.
I don't care. I just want to keep winning. I mean, sometimes the crowd's with me, sometimes they're against me. I mean, I don't care. You know, they're going to boo me, do what they want, but I'll keep winning. So happy days.
You keep winning. You're in the semi-final. Many congratulations.
That one caused some controversy. Before we talk about it, Gezi didn't do media that night, but even in defeat, Dave Chisnall was more than obliging to come in and have a quick chat, and he spoke about it as well.
Like in the second break, like I said, we had that little giggle, and I said, at least you got one supporter there for you, man. We were just having a laugh of it, but I feel for him sometimes. He's world number one, give him respect, that's all I can say. I knew he did it, because that's what he does. That boy, when he wins and he's not playing well, he just knows how to win. I've been saying it for months on end. Even if he's not playing well, he knows how to win. And he's done it again tonight. Because he wasn't special. I wasn't special, but he just knows how to win. And fair play to him.
Gob's just itching to go, so we will let you go first, mate.
I'm not itching. I'm just sat here thinking I should have written everything down. Made note. Made sure this is balanced.
First of all, thoughts on Gezi's interview?
He's just asking for it, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yep.
The man has quite clearly all the talent in the world. He is a fantastic dart player. And there isn't a single person that goes to a darts match that cannot see that. Right? But I'll use the same line that I've been using since the incident first happened. Ability is not the same as likability. Being the best at something does not instantly make you the most liked person in the world. For the last 3-4 years, Gerwyn Price has, for the most part, enjoyed playing the pantomime villain. When you're going to make comments 18 months ago saying you miss the boos and then come out and say that you don't like them or that it doesn't bother you, but then you just spent 10 minutes calling the crowd pathetic, it clearly does get to it. And obviously so. Right? And I'm talking about the boos specifically. If anybody's online abusing him straight up or shouting insults on the crowd, that's a different level and that needs a line drawn under it and something needs to be done about that. But the general crowd booing, I don't see an issue with.
I don't think it's not the booing that's an issue, and he's always said that it's the abuse he gets whilst he's throwing. The booing he can cope with. It's the targeted abuse that he gets whilst throwing is the issue. And like I say, generally the pantomime booing, look, it's not going to go away. The PDC have created this monster. That's the atmosphere they want. They want the cheers and the boos. So the pantomime villain booing isn't going to go away. But the targeted abuse needs to stop.
Yeah.
They've created it all. They've pretty much come up and said that if you buy a ticket, you can do what you want in the atmosphere because it makes for good TV moments. It makes for bits of drama and it makes for talking points. And that's literally what they're about. In the black and white of it, they're an entertainment company. That's entertainment for people sat at home. It draws up attention and views. It's not going to change. And the thing is, we've been saying this about Euro Tours. We've been saying this about Price. We've been saying it about MVG and in Blackpool when he played Phill Taylor. Peter Manley used to get it all the time. Look, this is not something new. It's just on a different person.
Yeah. Look, it clearly affected him. We're going to come on to a point in the semi-final in relation to that in a second. But Daniel said, "Hey Phil, when you interviewed Price, when he's been a bit rude, Gezi's never ever been rude to me ever. In media, Gezi has always been absolute top draw. Yes, he didn't come in, I think that was mainly because he probably might have said something that got him fined. So look, there's a difference between not doing any media, but when he does do it, he has been absolutely exceptional. And by the way, it's the only time since I've been doing my job that he's never come in to do media. But moving on to the semi-finals, because this is related to this one. At 2-0, genuinely, and chat room, let us know who thought Gezi wasn't coming back. At 2-0 down, who thought he'd done a Ronnie?
Yeah.
I thought he was done it.
I'm
I thought he was
going to call it out now. I do not believe the elbow injury one little bit, because he basically said it was non-existent in his interview with Sky straight away afterwards.
Yeah. I didn't think he was coming back at 2-0. I thought he was done and was going to forfeit.
Yeah, there was a missed opportunity there, which is what we saw without touching into the final too much, but is what we saw there. So it was 2-0 down, and that third set being the crucial one. There was an opportunity, a huge opportunity there for Bunting, and that standard just didn't increase. We touched upon it on the fallout bar, didn't we, Dob, around Stephen Bunting just carried on as per. He didn't look like it impacted him. He didn't look like it had any effect on him whatsoever. But was that the right thing? Should he have been raising it as an issue? Should he have been kicking off a bit? I don't, from what I'm seeing of Stephen Bunting, it's not that type of thing. But that lung break had an impact on Stephen Bunting and had a big impact on Gerwyn Price, but in the other way. So that was the deciding set. That third set was the deciding point. At 2-0, it was net for me. I didn't have that.
Yeah, if Bunting goes 3-0 up, he walks the game. He absolutely walks the game. But
which is exactly what we saw in the final. The same thing happened at 2-0. There was that point. It was the third set that was crucial, and we saw that the night before in the semis.
Yeah, Mace, you're not wrong. Yeah.
People comparing the situation with golf with a crowd. The problem with golf is that they don't collectively make a noise constantly. It is so difficult to identify individuals unless they're sat right at the front, proper giving it to a player, and then the player can turn around. And it wouldn't be against the players turn around and say, just remove this person. I've seen George Noble on the Euro Tour go absolutely mad at someone once, drop the mic and go, was that you? I've never seen George Noble react like that. But look, the referee used to have this ability. They don't even say thank you anymore, really, or best of order, because they're just not interested. The PDC ain't interested. They just don't have the control. You sell darts on TV to punters going as this massive, big party atmosphere. The minute they start seeing people being kicked out for things left, right, and centre, unless it's scrapping at the back of their ball because they've had more than alcohol, like you get at the boxing, they're just not going to remove people. I genuinely don't know where they go with it. In terms of the abuse the players get, like I said, I have absolutely no issue with booing. It's in every single sport. It's the whistling and the deliberate taunts to put players off whilst they're throwing. That's where I've got an issue.
What was strange? Yeah. What was strange for me on that one was being in there on Thursday. We was all in there on Thursday. I didn't see that being. I'm not saying if there was anything shouted close to the stage or any sort of abuse, then I don't know. I wasn't as close to that. But in regards to the booing aspect and that, it didn't seem any worse than what we've seen before at other events for Gerwyn Price. It seemed very strange. And not only that, the questioning that was asked wasn't aimed towards the crowd at all. It was, at that time, it was just Gerwyn Price wanted to get it off his chest. Michael Bridge didn't instigate any conversation about the crowd in that interview. And it was just Gerwyn Price wanted it off. So I can only assume that it was something coming from someone closer and more of a personal shout than it was the general booing, because for me, he decked it everywhere he does. It wasn't no worse on Thursday night than when I was there on Tuesday for him. It was just the same for me, right or wrong, but it wasn't worse in that sense. It was more. It must have been someone shouting or numerous people shouting that got him rolled up.
Mm-hmm. And then from there, we had the All Welsh final that everyone was craving. The Ferret taking on the Iceman. What a final, boys, from Jonny Clayton. Unplayable.
Ridiculous. 5 some plus checkouts, a 170 and a 164 in back-to-back legs. Even at 3-0, or 3-1 I think it was, when Jonny takes out 110 for the set, he needed that. Because I just felt that if Price was, at that point, he was a break or throwaway from 3 sets all, and then it's a completely different matter, and then the pressure starts getting on Jonny. But the 110 was superb. He started getting a little bit edgy in that set, and he just went to town again. He's just ridiculous. So good at the minute. He's had a faux ranking all year because everything he's won has been non-ranking or exhibitional. We're just going to keep saying that to wind people up now. He's just been so good since he won the World Cup with Gezi last year. And if anything, Gezi's probably sat there going, wish I hadn't won the bloody World Cup because you, in part, created this.
Yeah. And there he is with his trophy ahoy. And like we say, Jonny Clayton is the new world number 7. So a couple of really good bits in the chat room. We're not ignoring them, guys. We'll come to you in a second. We've got lots and lots to go through. Like we said, it's always going to be a bumper show to today. But first of all, we've got a couple of clips. One from Gezi and then Jonny as well.
He was relentless. I was starting off and I missed a couple of doubles to get off, and then I'm under pressure to score. But I mean, yeah, what a performance. He was by far the better player on the night, and like I said in the interview, I'm just happy that we could just play and the crowd let us play, and it was a good game.
So again, really open from Gezi, just admitting that Jonny was relentless. Like you say, the 170 and the 164 was just out of this world. But Jonny is also one step closer to the ultimate goal and dream of Ali Paddy glory as well.
Well, obviously, I enjoy my darts. They're going good, so what more do you want, you know? But how many more players are chasing that dream the same as I am? So I'm one step closer to winning that, and hopefully I can get over the line.
Jonny talking about glory at Alexandra Palace, boys. And right now, you wouldn't bet against it, would you?
It's difficult to look past him after 3 TV titles in a year already, more than anybody else. He's just mopping them up like a Gary Anderson or MVG of yesteryear.
Yeah.
But
it was the manner of it as well. The manner of that win was just ridiculous. God says Gerwyn Price. We had what we saw on the quarterfinals, the turnaround on semi-finals. Then we expected a big performance from Gerwyn Price. And to be honest, other than early on, his doubling wasn't great. He didn't play bad. That's all did he, Gerwyn Price. It was just the relentless from Jonny Clayton. That third set, obviously with those checkouts, but the averages, Gerwyn Price put in was ridiculous and still didn't come away with a set. And that for me was the key, because we'd seen what was the night before, and so I'd seen push on. There was the set 5 that Dob was on about as well. There was just every time that Jonny Clayton was under pressure, we've seen him react before, but we've never seen him react to then Gerwyn Price, and that was the big thing for that final. And you can only see him going on for more, and like you said, he's going to be in the mix for the big one at the end.
Absolutely. Couple of in the chat room. One says, does anyone know where Paul Hinks is? Haven't seen him call a match for a long time. Look, I don't know, but I think he may have just sort of like semi-retired. He did the World Final, obviously, last year. So, look, I don't know, but maybe just enjoying life. Lot in the crowd. Jar is in there as always, mate. Couple were talking about New York, and yes, can't wait for that one. But lads, no time to stop, because there is another ranking televised title up for grabs with the Kazoo European Championship, boys. And again, as Ronnie O'Sullivan once said, lots more ranking points on offer.
Ranking points, mate.
Rankers, mate.
That was the best place of Ronnie O'Sullivan ever, by the way. Forget everything else. When he just come back, took the piss out of everybody and picked up any time he wanted. It was brilliant.
Yeah. So Thursday, this starts on ITV4 with Jackie Oakley anchoring with Mace in the studio. I'm guessing he's got the usual suspects with Wazza alongside him, Pikey as well. Gutted you're not coming out to Salzburg, mate. But that is the draw, boys. We'll put the schedule up so people can see today's 2 bumper sessions Thursday and Friday evenings before double session Saturday and double session on Sunday. But as Vincent alluded to earlier, it's a very different looking field, boys. Some names there that we wouldn't normally see or haven't seen on TV for a long time. Richie Eddowes, happy in one respect, getting that 32nd spot. But unfortunately, this isn't an open draw. This is seeded. So 1 plays 32, 2 plays 31, and so on. So you know what we're going to do, boys. We're going to dissect it. However, potentially, maybe there is a blockbuster quarterfinal looming in the top half of the draw. Boyd's shaking his head. He spotted it. Potentially, the Iceman Gerwyn Price and mighty Michael van Gerwen could meet in the quarterfinals on Sunday afternoon. What a encounter.
Oh, big bad Boris, you know.
I thought, to be honest, I thought you were going to say James Wade. Dob, not Big Bad Boris.
I didn't even work that
one. Yeah, the winner of MVG that was on to play the winner of MVG's name. Is that right? Plays the James Wade one, but you certainly
been to back-to-back finals in there.
What's that?
Has Wadey been to back-to-back finals in this? He lost to Wright last year. Did he win it the year before?
No, he won it was it 2018? He beat Whitlock in the final.
Yeah, 19 was Rob Tross. Rob Tross beat Gerwyn Price.
Close enough. Wadey does bits here, you know. Let me be knocking my boy.
Yeah. Right, boys, it's TV tournament, so you know what's going to happen. I want semi-finalists from you, first of all. We'll go through some of the standout ones and who you think will come through. But from the top half to
we go back to the draw.
Yeah,
go back to the draw one. We go back to the draw one. That's not in bracket order. Yeah. If we're doing
before you go on that, just looking at that, how have we got a World Grand Prix champion not playing at the European Championships is ridiculous.
Because of the stupid.
There we go. There's the elephant in the room.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
Because you don't get your prize money, which is ridiculous, by the way. If you're a seed, you've earned the right. The Jonny Clayton has fallen foul to a just terrible rule.
Yeah. And interestingly, I heard Matt Edgar talking about this the other day, and he did make a decent point on this in that at the start of the year when they sign contracts and whatever to take on, the rules are set out for qualification for every event, and obviously they were hoping for more European tours at that point, and they just left it too late to make any amendments. And if you get to a point where they're changing rules and players that sign a contract at the start of the year that would have been in the event and then missing out, then they've got another issue on their hands. So from that point of view, I can actually understand why it wasn't changed. However, it's stupid. It's ridiculous. It doesn't represent the form. The fact there are players in this field that are in because they won a game at a second European tour instead of the first one 2 weeks later, that is not more of a success.
But Dob, surely on that point as well, not only I understand and I get that view that the rules are set at the start of the year when we dodged that, but to begin with, you've had 3 qualifiers for what has only now been 2 tournaments. So yeah, the Jonny Clayton point, and we've got the World Grand Prix champion not here. We've also got people who've qualified to play at the Euro Tour, have now missed out on the opportunity of qualifying for this year's European Championships, when next year's, if they haven't got a tour card, might only be able to play in one and took that one and have a very good run in it, and then can't qualify for it. So there's the argument, obviously, with Jonny Clayton, because he's, well, there's a vote on down at the moment. He's the best player in the world right now, and he's in the mix, shall we say. And he's now not at a tournament where, no disrespect, but some of these other players, where it just doesn't sit right with me that he's not there. The rules around it.
That third qualifier is the biggest issue for me, because once you've told players they've got that potential and they've already qualified for it, that rollover just isn't good enough. There's enough Pro Tours, add an extra day and just play it from there. Play down on one day, play it as a floor event and just give them the same equivalent prize money. I know you miss out commercially. I know you don't get it on PDC TV in the arenas and that you've promised it. But in terms of the prize money, they've propped it up for long enough for the last couple of years. Barry sat here saying that they've got decent reserves and that sort of thing. You offer a qualifier, you expect that event in this calendar year, because like you said, Lee, if players drop their tour cards now, it's an absolute waste of time going to the European Tour. That could have been essential, people keeping their cards. People's careers at stake with literally that one weekend. And okay, you can make the argument that they should have done more on a different weekend and they've had the entire year to keep them and all of that sort of thing. But if it comes down to the fine margins, and by qualifying for this, or the third event that's not taking place would have added prize money on and that sort of thing, it's just not right again. We've sat here for the last couple of years and praised the PDC for how well they've done over lockdown, and every time they get something right and every time we like something, we sit here and praise them, but they seem to be getting a lot wrong at the minute. And this is one of those things.
At the start of the year, we all knew there was no chance of 13 Euro Tours. We all knew that. So, look.
Yeah, but the conversations that we were having with BBC Europe in January and February was they were aiming for 6. So half a tour, don't get me wrong, it's not a full tour, but when you can defend 50% of money that's dropped off from a year ago or whatever else, and I think 6 is enough to constitute a decent ranking to qualify for this. 2 is a joke.
But even if you don't have 6, you've got 3 qualifying events for it. So they obviously wanted at 13, but they've now put 3 qualifying events up, which for me then have to be played in however that third one that's played. Obviously, I know there's TV deals and all the commercial side to it. They've got to find a way for that to be played. So obviously, the argument with the ranking points and Jonny Clayton aside, the other part of that the qualifiers just haven't had that opportunity just isn't right at all. And then the fact that the rule only came in place about the time back after the first event had already happened. I think, like I says, they do a lot of things right. They've just made a big mess of this European Championships for me.
Yeah.
It's going to make it very intriguing for that very reason, because there's a lot of names who we haven't seen on TV as often. So, and there's an awful lot of debutants. I think I saw there's about 11. So it certainly makes for intriguing viewing, but different viewing to what we would expect and want, I think, from a European Championship.
And now makes an interesting point. He's like, you shouldn't forget Clayton lost 2 games against Gowlas and Smith-Neal, who both didn't play really well. Clayton shouldn't lose such games. Look, we sat here and spoken up the standard of the PDC. Anybody can beat anybody, especially over the race to 6 in this format. And when you look at things like the World Championships, do you know how many players from prelims come through that following round because they've already played a game and already settled over the same distance? That used to be an advantage for some players. There was a year when seeds just crumbled at the World Championships because the players were having a warm-up on that night, up on stage, and then going back up. And because they were winning so comfortably in that first round, if you offered all of the seeds a chance to play the round before and their prize money count once they got into the second round, or have to guarantee a win in the second round to pick up any money, they take the first round all day, every day. I'm sure they would. Because you look at the players that Smith, Neal and Gowlas beat in terms of Jonny Clayton. If he beats one of them, he's in the European Championships.
Yeah. Right. You two have had, we've gone full Vincent van der Voort on the criteria now. From the top, I threw Gob under the bus first last time, so Boise, this time it's your turn.
Gob, I'm sure you've got something else to say about the. I'm sure you've got something else to say about the Vincent van der Voort while I'm looking. Carry on, mate. Carry on.
Wrong topic, mate. I could go on the prize topic all night, but I think it's best we move on. So you crack on, lad. Who are you backing to get knocked out first round? That's what normally happens at this point.
Semi-finals, I'm going to go bottom half and repeat of the first round of the World Grand Prix in Peter Wright and Rob Cross. For me in the bottom half semi-final. Top half, Gerwyn Price. This is the one. That second quarter's horrible. Michael Smith, Ryan Searle, Ratoisti, Noppert, Aspinall, Tind, Petter and Clemens. Gerwyn Price will meet Nathan Aspinall.
Cool.
Interesting.
Cool. Semi-finalist, please.
That second quarter.
Rob Cross is playing all right, but I'm not sure I back him to get there. Jose has to play well early, or Luke Humphreys will do a job on him, or Callan. Wouldn't mind seeing a run from Kim Huybrecht. I'm just not sure this is the event it's going to come at. Top left, James Wade. The man's a machine. And he loves the European Championship. Don't side me like that, Phill. Bottom left, Krzysztof Ratajski. He's a different animal this year. That line's just for Jar. European crowd as well.
So from the top half, you're going Wade versus Ratajski semi-final.
I am so here for that on Sunday night. Please. Mace isn't for commentary-wise, but I'm so here for that game. That's one for the purists. Top right. Look, Peter Wright has got it tough, I think. Hempel is... I like Florian Hempel a lot. I think he's a great player, and he's only going to keep getting better. A rejuvenated Mensur Sulovic as well. I expect him to come through Adam Hunt, and then probably Simon Whitlock from there. But I still back him to get through. Look, the way that he turned it on in the match play, that player's still in there. Bad week. Normally, when he has a bad event, he backs up with a good one as well. That's been his trait this year, so I'm expecting that for Snakebite. And then bottom right. Oh, do I do it? Do I do it? Kim Huybrecht.
Interesting. Mace is like cheers, Gob, for your
Mace loves that semi-final lineup. Toss a coin for which one of them you want. I think he's just committed to the second semi-final before I name the fourth player as well.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I think he's now that Sunday night off. Does he, you, Dob?
Right, bottom half of the draw. I'm going for Peter Wright versus Luke Humphreys semi-final.
Are we all completely writing Jose off, by the way?
Yeah.
Phillies, obviously. I don't know why you asked that question.
Normally, when you justify it, Phill, like, I've just completely overlooked the man. I think Luke Humphreys possibly beats him at the minute because Luke is playing very well on TV. But at the same time, I would say he's not suddenly become rubbish overnight, has he? The man's still ridiculously good. He was average
I'm
at
not saying
times
he's
in
not
the
good,
Grand
but as I said last or 2 weeks ago, unless he's miles in front in a tight game right now, I don't fancy him to win it.
Okay.
Top half. I'm going MVG Price quarter final. It's just who wins it.
Shock.
Going MVG.
Shock.
Michael will play
On his Xbox.
Oh. Can he back it up this week?
You're the adult for Noppert.
To be fair, it's a case of
MVG versus Noppy in a semi-final, don't you? That's what you want. See if they shake hands before the match.
That first round game, I think the winner of Ratajski Noppert gets to the semi-final. It's just getting that one right.
Yeah. I'm genuinely quite concerned that all 4 of the players I just picked could lose first round.
Yeah, look.
That's a concern I always have, mate. I won't worry about it.
Once they come through the first round, I think they're all right, but...
I'm going MVG Ratajski. I think Ratajski does Noppy over best of 11.
To be honest, pitting that quarter is more difficult than pitting the finalist. That quarter, that
second quarter is horrid. Absolutely horrid.
If the thing is, I quite like Merv King at the minute. I always like Merv King, to be honest, but he's still got one of them runs in him somewhere. And if he's in any of the other quarters or the other half of the draw, I'd probably tip him to top left, maybe not so much. But
so look,
the bottom half of the draw, you fancy Merv to have a run, but in that bottom left, you just can't back it.
See, look, Mace knows. Buzzy and his views and his intense beef. If that's the semi-final, we'll be going full out Chinese beef and black bean sauce central as Noppy takes on MVG.
Phil, hasn't Mace moved himself down to the other semi-final though? So he's going to miss out.
Yeah. Right, boys. From your semi-finals, I would like a winner and a runner-up of the Kazoo European Championships.
For me, we see Price back to winning ways. Gerwyn Price beats Peter Wright in the final. Convincingly.
If Peter Wright makes a final, we don't flop. And he loves a Sunday Pro Tour recently. Also, given the
half the deficit
relationship with the crowd, if anybody doesn't walk out of an Austria flag, they're immediately behind the game, because I think that's just one way to get them on side. The minute you go to a European tour, you start saying, I love this crowd or something, and they'll back you all week. Ian White should just be doing it for years.
Gerwyn Price wins 11-5, 11-6.
Which one? Both.
God, where
Can't win both.
Going?
I don't know, I'm just stalling. Can I abuse Lee a little bit longer?
To be honest, you do that on air and off air. I have that both ways. WhatsApp group, on camera, in person. Now, I have it everywhere.
Yeah. I was polite to you. My girlfriend bought you a drink and then threw hers on the floor, dickhead.
You mentioned my attire within 10 seconds of being in control, mate.
I can't remember what. I can't remember who was on last, but she managed to fall asleep during it. Oh, Bunting, Ryan Searle. Yeah, brilliant. Peter Wright beats Krzysztof Ratajski. but darts is the winner.
I am going. MVG beats Luke Humphreys in the final.
I think the only event all year Phill hasn't backed Michael to win was the World Series. There is absolutely no logic to what you keep doing, man.
You know,
he didn't. No, but he didn't bat him to win any of the ladies, did he? I don't think he backed him in any of those. He might have done.
I wouldn't put it past him. We've got to talk about that soon.
I know the
Lisa Ashton does not qualify for the Grand Slam because MVG has turned up.
See, G Adventures knows. If I keep backing him, eventually I will get it right. Exactly.
I mean, he's not.
To be fair, the way everyone else is having a mini wobble at times, look, no one is in the same sort of form as they were in this. As in, going into the match play, Peter Wright was by far the best player in the world, and that showed. Before Price has been going into tournaments, looks unbeatable. The Ferret isn't here. Otherwise, let's be fair, you'd be like fancying the Ferret left, right and centre. But right now, there's not one player in that field that you go, they're not going to have an iffy game at some point. At some point, every one of those 32 will have an off game. It's whether the top players come through their off game.
Possibly. I don't
Well, that's
think
what I
Vincent
think
has an
anyway.
off game. He just has a level of animalism.
Let us know in the chat room as well. Who are you banking to win the Kazoo European Championships on Sunday night? And the good news is for all you guys is we will have live content from Salzburg as well.
Did any of us
Which
just
is
back Price? Lee? Did you?
Yeah, Boyce's got
Yeah,
Price to
then,
win.
sorry, Dom. Yeah, I had Price.
Phill, do you actually write these down?
Yeah.
Because we never seem to discuss it after an event. We just shout each other out and
Wait
wait
there,
for Lee to say, oh, yeah,
wait there.
we just
Wait
wait
there,
for him to
Dom.
say, oh, I backed them in the first round in the WhatsApp, wait for them to fall, and then I can bully him the following week. Like, genuinely don't ever go back over what we backed last time.
I was going to say there was that many talking points tonight. At 8:05, you'd already mentioned what my pitch was for the Grand Prix, mate. So I wouldn't say we don't mention them. It was part of the introduction.
As Jar said in the chat room earlier, I don't make the rules, I just enforce them. If you're crap at this, I'm going to tell you you're crap at this.
Oh, good point, Jar. Are we? Do we?
No, not for weekend events. Week long. That was the bench we set.
Robert Thornton in the chat room says, what's the odds on a Richie Headhouse versus Adam Hunt final? I wonder, worth a quid? I'd say it'd be very much worth a quid, because if it comes in, you'd probably never need to do anything again.
That is, of course, if you have a quid to throw away. Worth a lot these days.
Plenty in the chat room. Matthew says Price all the way. Yeah, look, Price for me sleepwalks to the quarterfinals. In his sleep, I think he just sleepwalks to Sunday afternoon.
It's only because it takes Gowlas that bloody long to play his game.
That's the point. When on the coverage is Gowlas Joe Merlin on? Let's have a look. first. No surprise there.
Is that when you pop into Weathermommers on the weekend when that game's on? Phil?
I don't know. Is there a Wagamama? Have Waggers made it to Salzburg yet? Good question.
Someone will know in our
You know the
chat room,
Domino's
100%.
Pizza adverts when they're like, call now for half time, and you're like, call now for the first leg.
To be fair, I'm Googling it now, Boise.
All the essential things we're covering here on the live lounge tonight. 20 past 9. Haven't got into question time yet.
By the look of it, no. Gutted.
No.
Saying that, Phil, you could fly back, eat it, fly there. It still wouldn't be over. Come back for 2. You'd be all right.
Yeah. Mace in the chat room, great one, says European Championship highest averages 118.14. Phill Taylor, quarterfinals 2009. Gary Anderson, well, that's a while ago. He had played in the Euros for a while. 113.92 against Phill Taylor. Merv King, Phill Taylor again.
Oh, mate, all three of them are Phill Taylor. Do not try and sit here and tell me MVG is any sort of go. Phill is God, mate.
Owen says, what's the capacity this weekend? That's a good point. I don't know is the honest answer. Let's have a look.
Capacity go in Price fans, 6.
The venue itself holds 6,500.
So after you put a stage in, about 5?
5 probably. That was Peter Wright first plays on the Thursday night. So any more? Henry says, what was your favourite venue for the Euros? As in the European Championship finals, mate. Trying to think. I've got a choice of 2 for me. Dortmund was really good. Göttingen from the outside and inside looked amazing. Mace will tell you, the arena in Göttingen was fabulous, but it was just an absolute ball ache to get to.
I just like the one where Dirk walks down the stairs, giving it like that. That's my favourite walk on. They walk on from upstairs rather than in the crowd. That's banging.
I still want a darts player to do the zip line down to the stage.
Please. Can we get insurance on the seniors doing that across the tap?
Who do you want to see do it though, Phil?
Who would I like to see zip line to the stage? Who would do it?
Big Vinny dressed as Miley Cyrus. Just wrecking ball the hell out of somewhere. What was the place with the amazing chandelier?
I think that was Göttingen. The venue was stunning, but literally it was just like you had to fly. I think we flew into Frankfurt, and then it was like 3 hours on a coach or something like that. It's just an absolute ball ache. Dortmund at the ground was amazing. So Mason said they're expecting 3,500 on Saturday night. That's decent. good numbers.
Getting about 10 on Thursday.
Yeah. Right. Go on then. We'll open up the chat room. We think we've covered pretty much everything that's happened in the week.
No.
I don't think we've missed anything. What's that?
No, we haven't.
One, the live league came back today, which we don't normally talk about because after work in the weekday. So we're not, because we had a week off last week. Good start. But two, there has been quite a few press releases from our friends at the World Seniors Darts Tour this week, Philip.
Oh, correct. Yeah, there is. So I was trying to think of what we've been. Yeah. Plenty going on the World Seniors. It's now out on BBC iPlayer, all the red button as well.
Yep.
Going to be anchored
by
one
the announced today, which is Germany, Austria, and
Switzerland.
Switzerland,
Switzerland, I think, is it?
Yeah. Plus 2 presenters.
The legendary Ray Stubbs and Helen Chamberlain.
Bells. Do you know what? After seeing Helen play a few times in various pieces back in the day, I have no doubt that she could have been at the lakeside. I genuinely think she was that good.
Oh, she could play all right.
I remember her chucking in a 180 on Soccer AM, I think it was, and I was like, holy crap, you're doing that on TV here, whether people are pissing around or not. Like, if you could do that on demand on TV, you could play.
Yeah.
And that's what, 15, 20 years ago, without being disrespectful. Like, Trina was top dog back then, but there wasn't a lot coming back at her. Dieter occasionally and a few others, but the standard ladies has got better and better. 20 years ago, when Helen Chamberlain was massive on TV, Helen Chamberlain could have been in the Women's World Championships. I have no doubt about that. Just too busy to do all the travelling and the qualifying criteria.
To be fair, I've just seen one. Also, for those interested, the World Seniors Qualifier. If you are eligible, I believe there are only 3 spaces left in the qualifier. So if you're umming and ahhing, there is only 3 places left. So make sure you get in. And also, the qualifier, we're just sorting out the finer details now, but each day, the quarterfinals onwards are going to be streamed on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, boy.
So people can see from the quarterfinals onwards on the Saturday and Sunday. And also, Gob will be at the venue, keeping you up to date with everything from the sharp end.
Up the red end. Going home. Well,
we spoke about the boards earlier, and someone just seen the name in the chat room. We get to see Whitlock on the new boards for the first time this weekend.
We do.
Look at Boyd's face.
Yeah, anytime they're changing the practice 9 darts after each one.
So yeah, plenty of news. So plenty of great news from the seniors. So that is title sponsor announced, JenningsBet, board sponsor Target, TV in the UK, BBC. It's all looking good, boys.
It's looking very good. And of course, official media partners, Online Darts. We're going to be there.
Standard. Mind you, that first day is carnage. Because obviously the Premier League's on as well.
It's what we do, mate. Like that travelling exhibition circus. If you're any interested in that, you can have a night off. Especially as I know where it is that night.
Yeah, Cardiff.
Yeah, no one wants to be there.
May says, month away, average nearly 90 at Super League, 4-0. Decent, mate. Love that. Good effort. The live league also returned this morning as well. Great to see Kevin Painter back, which is good. Robert Thornton playing some good stuff, which is all good. All building for Champions Week, which is in a few weeks as well. Before we start taking questions, manic couple of weeks coming off that. We have the Super Series streams along with the Ladies Series as well. All eyes will be on Fallon Sherrock and Lisa Ashton again, boys. Fallon already at the Grand Slam. I don't know if you noticed that from the adverts at the weekend.
The only one there, isn't she? It's an evening with, I think, on the advertisement.
Also, whilst we're talking on the Grand Slam and that, by the way, I don't know this. This is my prediction, just listening to everything and what you hear from different interviews. Next year, calling it now, the World Grand Prix goes back to the City West in Dublin, and I think the Slam goes to Leicester.
I wouldn't be surprised.
No,
Least disappointed because it's a bit closer to him.
Yeah.
He can just nip round the corner from Wolverhampton, but the Morningside is a PDC venue. They've used it for the Champions League. They've used it emergency here. They are itching to get something in there full time, aren't
they? The only thing for me is if it's still at Aldersley or however long it's at Aldersley, there was parts of the atmosphere in Leicester and how it's set up that was similar in the nights earlier on in the week. The Sunday was very good, and then the back end of the week from Thursday onwards, I think it was sold out, and the atmosphere was loads better than what we did at Aldersley. I do like the Civic as a venue. However, we had the same situation. I like the balcony sort of over. I think it's a lot better, but the issues with all of these are that the early days, the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday sort of days, is when you have that sort of the crowd isn't as good. The Civic's better for that because you are very compact. So I would be opposed to it for that reason as well. But the main reason being is Wolverhampton is literally just down the road. So for me, personally, Leicester's a little bit further, not much. I can't really complain how many tournaments we have in the UK.
A couple of bits in the chat room about what we've just said there. May says, isn't the Civic going to be ready? Someone else says about the Civic. Yes, look, the Civic is due to be open next year for this. But Matt Porter, I think it was with Weekly Darts Cast, spoke about the Civic. Just reading between the lines, I don't think they're that keen to go back there. Might be wrong, but just reading between the lines what he said about it not being the biggest venue anymore, about it's not very big backstage, practice room and everything that goes with it, I'm just not convinced that they're going to take it back there. Look, might be way off with that. Just reading between the lines.
Speaking of though, the media room at Leicester was crap.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
There might also, Phil, the flip of that is with it being all redone, I'm assuming they'll want to have a look at how it's going to work before they make that decision.
Of course
I'm sure the Civic was meant to be done in like 2019, 2020 to push. Obviously, I know about COVID, but the delay on it can only have made it worse. Because Aldersley, where the venue is a bit of a pain in the backside to get to. There's not much round it. There's a pub around a 15, 20-minute walk away from it. They put on coaches from Wolverhampton because it is out the way. So I'm surprised they're still there again this year. Yeah, I'm surprised they're still there this year.
Yeah.
I think it was only there this year because of the situation in Ireland.
Yeah.
I genuinely think if the City West had been able to have the Grand Prix, the Slam would have been in Leicester this year. Convinced of it.
And for that, I wouldn't be opposed to it at all when it's the Aldersley. More when it's the Civic, but Aldersley, for me, it's not a great venue for the Slam.
It might have been one of them. I know we did two interviews. I listened to them both. So it was one of them, but just reading between the lines, it didn't feel as if there was a lot of energy around going back to the Civic. I hope so, because look, the Civic was mint, but I'm not sure. Craig says, evening lads, what about bringing back the Champions League and playing in Scotland? All depends on broadcaster. The Champions League was made specifically for the BBC to have some free-to-air darts. So unless a new broadcaster or another broadcaster wants it, I'm not sure it comes back. Although I did like the format.
I wasn't a huge fan of it. Obviously, more darts the better, but I wasn't a fan of the Champions League. The format's too similar to what we have with the Slam. Yeah, for me it wasn't.
Somewhere between the Slam and the Masters, and it didn't count. I'm like, what the bloody hell's the point? For me, it was the same 8 players that you're going to see in a World Series event. Or I know they're trying to broaden that a little bit, but traditionally the top 8 are the 8 that go for the World Series.
Yeah, hi Max, hope you are well. So yeah, right, everyone, get your questions in, and we will start to pick our way through and answer them.
Phil, there's certainly one in there that I like to see back. One at the Reebok. I enjoyed the
Reebok. University of Bolton Stadium, thank you very much.
Yeah, it'll always be the Reebok.
Yeah, it will.
The same as Man City will always play at Main Road.
However, if there is one back at the
same
Reebok,
way the Newcastle are going to stay at St James's Park, not a chance.
It's yeah, they will.
That'll be interesting when that happens.
If it anything like that is back at the Reebok, it needs to be something with more than one stage or more than one games on at a time, because that's what I loved about doing that. That was the one for me.
Look, it's not so much Butlins that I don't like. I'm not a fan of having the same tournament, having 2 tournaments at the same venue. If you want to use Butlins, use one at Minehead and then use Bognor or Skegness for the other one. I just don't like 2 tournaments at the same venue. Skeg Vegas?
Please. Because after spending time there as well, Skegness is decent for the night out after. You can go off campus. Like, you don't have to stay on site.
Yeah.
I think that bit's a little bit more. Commiserations, Jack.
Charles says, Minehead is the GOAT. Stop this nonsense, Lee. You try getting there when it's snowing or absolutely lashing down when the weather's horrendous.
Last time. On the way back from Exeter, pitch black, left late, it started to rain a bit. Nightmare.
Yeah.
Through the back roads, we didn't go that way for some reason. We're swinging it round corners and all sorts. Nightmare.
Yeah.
Jar loves Minehead, though. Like, the man's literally messaging me in this show going, we don't do fallout bars for weekend-long tournaments. We're doing one whilst I'm in Minehead so I can dial in. No, we're not, Jar. You're a nightmare, mate. They're not the rules.
I'm surprised a bit like Fallout Bar. He's not appeared on our screen in the little corner so we can see him like we did a few
nights.
He's
not producing this one, is he? We use different software for this. You know full well if we were using that, he'd be straight in the back end, flashing his comments up on the screen. You are missing the video clips though, Phil. My little burst. We had Romeo Dunn appearing in the week. We've clipped that up to Wright treat. And a bit of Lucas Laver. Lucas Laver making a few appearances on the Fallout Bar earlier in the week.
To be fair, we're going to close the poll as well. The poll was, who is the best player in the world right now? I'm surprised at this. The winner is the Iceman, Gerwyn Price. I thought the Ferret might have nicked it.
It was level at one point, and then you all opened your mouth. Can I also point out that I didn't make the poll this week? I've done every other one throughout the week. Barzy does it, and somehow that last option is there when, quite frankly, at the minute, just shouldn't be. And it should say other. We were going to try and give you that option, but someone jumped the gun tonight, and then we're already votes on it by the time I saw it. It was definitely Missy and G. It was in the chat room at 7:10, but I couldn't delete their votes.
I was just wondering how many times Phil's opened up to that MVG to 5%.
I didn't check the online darts account, to be fair, to see if we'd voted or not yet, because you can only vote once per account.
I'll tell you where it probably is. I haven't opened it. Well, I'll tell you where it is. It's on MVG. Isn't it, Mr. Bars? I bet you.
100%.
To be fair, I haven't voted, so it's not me.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Shut up. Malachi says, is Corey Cadbury playing the Oceanic Masters? We're not 100% sure there is going to be an Oceanic Masters yet, because in Australia, you still can't travel between states. So we're not 100% sure that there is going to be one yet. Look, I hope so. But just don't know. Paul says, Christoph Ratajski into the top 5? What do you reckon, boys? Can the Polish Eagle gate crash the top 5?
Please.
Job, over to you, Job. Over to you.
He's already in the top 5, in my opinion. Top 5 best players in the world. The unit. Him, James Wade, Mervyn King. Who else on the wall? David Evans and Stephen Bunting. They'll do. Oh, Ross Smith, because he wears our patch, and that looked resplendent on TV. Big word for me.
Yeah.
Very big word.
As well, big shout out. I think he's on the men now to the PDC players marshal Dean Williams, who is not very well at the moment, but he's on the men. So big shout out to Dean, because I know he messaged me and says he often listens. Hopefully you'll be back soon, buddy. Good one here from D Style says, if you look at the tour card race, some big players like Klassen, Pipe, Webster, Wilson will very likely lose their tour cards. What do you think are the reasons behind why some of these players have fallen so badly? Good question. What do you think?
Sorry, I'm just calling Dara. It's just incredibly... It's incredibly difficult to just be that good all the time. The fact that darts, look, this year we've got quite a big gap, but because we don't have a set break in the calendar, things that run year round, like tennis or other individual sports, after the World Championship, they tend to have a bit of a break. You tend to get 6 to 8 weeks off. Darts doesn't really have that. There's no time to recharge, refresh. Priorities outside of darts change. A lot of the players you've named are either getting a little bit older or have more family commitments and that sort of thing. And just to maintain that drive, once you live a comfortable life, because let's not fault that, some of them have been earning a lot of money. A couple of those players that have just been listed then that are potentially in trouble were top 16 players not long ago, a couple of Premier League appearances in there from Yellow Klassen, etc. They're not living badly.
No?
Yeah, I also think part of that we've got to look at for this year and next year is the impact what COVID's had on some of these. Someone like Yellow was so often you'd seen him at exhibitions, that sort of practice on stage, that sort of knock-on that we've then seen with him not playing as much. It's different over this year and next year, the people who do lose the cards, because, like I said, some of them have not had the same opportunities. And there is also the stuff we've talked about with European Championships and the rules changing in this year with Euros, and we'll see the knock-on effects of that in years to come. There's only been 2 Euro Tour events. So there is these different aspects for these tour card holders who have not had the same opportunities as well as what some of the others would.
I think you touched on it there, that the Euro Tour, or the lack of Euro Tour, has had a huge implication on the rankings. And that's going to take probably 3 years to now sort itself out again. Because over the last 2 years, there's individuals and players that have earned comfortably between 50 and 70 grand a year just off the Euro Tour on their rankings. And that hasn't been there. And they've instantly lost that overnight. And the prime example of that's Ian White. You could guarantee without win that he might pick up one a year or something like that, but comfortably, Ian White would always make the last day of a Euro Tour. And over 13 events, that's a lot of money. And that's just been wiped off for 2 years.
Because even qualifiers, like, he would have been sat in the seeds somewhere or thereabouts. Don't get me wrong, he's not had the best year. He's been injured at the start of the year. And actually, those events not being here are probably a little bit of a blessing, because whilst the money has dropped off, people aren't gaining that back on him, because for the start of the year, I just don't think he would have done a lot on there. He says he's had the surgery and he feels fine now, but actually players not picking up $5,000 or whatever over 2 weekends, it's probably helped him a little bit stay in touch. But yeah, look, it is a massive loss, because it's just so much more financially rewarding per event than a Pro Tour.
Yeah,
absolutely,
100%.
I was going to say, that's the flip of that, is the opportunity that now some players have got this weekend. If you looked at, I know we've already spoke about the Adam Darlos, John Mernon game, but someone there's got an opportunity of picking up at least 10 grand that potentially, if you'd have had a full set of Euro Tour events, wouldn't have had that opportunity. So there is a few in there that are going to benefit from it, but without having a full calendar, which normally, obviously, because it works on the 2 years rolling, now we've had that change quite a lot. We are going to see the impacts of that this year and next year, and potentially the year after that, because we're not sure what will come in 2022. Hopefully the full 13.
Yeah. Connor in the chat room, mate. Hope you are all good, mate. Good to see you again sometime soon. There was one in there. Harry says, who do you guys think going to win the Welsh Open? Look, if I'm being honest, I haven't looked at the entry list, but I'm going to pluck one name off the top of my head because I know he's going, Mike Warburton.
Hometown boy, playing very well. Not bad shout.
That's only, look, one, he's a good player, and two, I know he's going. So
we did miss this earlier when we spoke about extra news, but the Welsh Open obviously clashes with the second weekend of the Ladies Series. And the news that Dieter Hedman announced earlier in the week was that the top 8 ladies automatically get their places for Q School next year paid as an incentive for them to go there for the second half. So not only is there the incentive to win the initial weekend to finish top 2 for the Slam, top 2 overall for the World Championships, because those spots aren't secure yet, although they basically are. The top 8 now have something to play for, because there's a couple of players just outside of it that were at Q School last year and that have played the Ladies Series before after good runs by a couple of names that perhaps you weren't expecting, that now pretty much have to go to this instead of the Welsh Open if they want to go to Q School next year for free.
Well, yeah, you've talked on this. Look, I think it's going to take a near miracle to catch Fallon and Lisa for the world spots. But that second Grand Slam spot, if Fallon and Lisa draw each other early on, that then potentially opens it up. Right, say this isn't a dig or anything like this, but Fallon's already there. So say Fallon and Lisa draw each other 3 times out of the 6 in the early stages. That then heaps the pressure on Lisa to do well in the others. So someone like Dieter, Lorraine, people like that could gate crash that Slam battle. Look, I think it would take, like you said, a mathematical miracle for the Worlds. But that Slam spot, depending on the draw, could be there. Look, don't get me wrong.
Exactly that. Call me a bit of a skeptic, but they were only in the same half of the draw 1 out of 6 times last time round.
Yeah.
The law of averages suggests that should go the other way this time as well, which would be very interesting.
I thought it was funny. They met in the first one, and then they didn't after that.
Yeah. And the other thing as well, Connor points out a good thing. I think the ladies already in the Lakeside will go Women's Series. They are predominantly going to be the players between 1 and 20 on the order of merit. The better ladies on the WF Series that have already qualified or are close enough. Do they sack the Welsh off? Because don't get me wrong, it's a big event there and they might pick up an auto. But if they're already there, you go to this and get yourself Q School next year as well.
Yeah, I think there's a few of them who are going to be playing a bit of poker of where they are going and where they're not going because of trying the best to fall into both categories.
This is a really interesting comment that I didn't know about from Lee in the chat room, says players at the Welsh Open now need COVID passports.
Yes.
Do you think that will affect the attendance?
Yes, massively, because it affected the attendance abroad earlier in the year, like 2 weeks ago as well. I can't remember where it was. But yeah, that was literally dropped on their Facebook group for the event like yesterday, I think, or early this morning. That's massive. Like, people in this country are fed up enough, and they have to have it on the NHS app as well. It's not even a flow test or a PCR test within 40 hours. They literally have to have the NHS app COVID passport for Wales.
So if you're not double back, you can't play in the Welsh Open.
I don't think so. No.
Wow.
Because you have to have the COVID app. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I think that'll have a huge outcome.
Yeah.
Dad says, Phil, which refs are the Euros? I think it is George, Hugh, and Russ. I think.
Going to go to at the minute, aren't they?
I know that because Kirk's having a week's holiday, he told me. So I know Kirk's not there because he's away on holiday.
Yeah.
Sam says, World Seniors on
BBC referee, by the way, are going to have holiday in the back half of the year. I know that you haven't been allowed to go abroad anywhere, but surely.
Yeah. Anyway, Sam says, World Seniors on BBC Digital. Good move? For me, absolutely.
Yeah.
But the BBC's network is huge. I think it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, BBC are one of the biggest broadcasters in the world. Yes, it's not the traditional BBC One, BBC Two. I don't want to say away. I don't want to start committing to stuff that isn't going to happen. But you've got Phill Taylor playing on the Friday night. I still think there's a chance that the BBC actually schedule that. They'll just wait till closer. If that does enough numbers elsewhere or gets enough interest, I still think it might end up on your traditional TV on a Friday night. Would not be the worst thing in the world for it. They've got enough channels that way. But look, since the digital switchover in this country, everybody has access to those channels. Even if it's part of it, you have to have
that's
it.
The
So,
thing, though. Yeah, spot on that. It's accessible for everyone who's tuned out onto the BBC. And it's the first year as well. As much as we'd love to see it on one of the BBC channels, especially when Phill Taylor's on there, I'm guessing would be good for viewing figures that see him back. But it's the first year, and how far the tournament's done, the players that are there, the money, the prize fund, now it's on BBC, in 3 other countries. We're still a few months away from it starting, so they can change very quickly as well, in addition to what we've already got. So for me, it's only
they're committed to the minimum at the minute of where they can put on their digital platform.
Yeah.
There's still a chance that changes even more. Just to clarify a point on the Welsh Open, somebody just sent me the actual post through the NHS COVID app. You can prove you've had a negative lateral flow test within a certain time period as well. So you don't have to be double vaccinated, but you do have to have this specific app.
Right, okay. Tommy says, would you like to see the World Grand Prix final format increase like it used to be from 6 back to 7? I'd like to see the format go up all the way through. I think in a ranked major, I think best of 3 is too short. I'd like to see it all go up again.
Yeah, I love the format. I think it's a great leveler, and more darts is always better. It feels a little bit rushed. The issue is if it's one-sided, isn't it? Like, it's a bit of a snooze fest in the final, but
yeah,
I'm not opposed to it staying at best of 3. I'd just like to see it double up the rounds. I think it was second round quarterfinal still stays at first of 3, best of 5. For me, that would just double up there. So you'd have then a first of 6 final or semi-final. And you just move that up. I'm not opposed to the best of 3 early rounds with the 8 games and getting the people there. I'm not totally opposed to that. But the final, especially because it's a final and it's all on the one day, why not extend it to at least 6? Not that it would have had an impact on Saturday, because Jonny Clayton would have just won 6-1 instead of 5-1 probably. But
I think the problem is that's doubling. I think that there's an extra day to be found for the Grand Prix. I think you'd get the interest, especially if it's over, especially if you've got a double session on a weekend. You would get people in there. I think the issue is that the way they have to schedule it, because it's an island, because of the licensing laws, so it starts and finishes on the Sunday and then the Saturday, so that people can get there and get in and out of the City West. I think that hampers the format a little bit.
Yeah.
I do see why we're playing 8 games on a night and rushing through it. I think that they could have a little bit more time, the walk-ons that they deserve and that sort of thing, by literally 1 extra day in double session, both the first 2 days. 4-4-4-4.
Yeah. Vincent says, Phill, was your interview with James Wade recently your most difficult one? No, not at all. There's been worse than that.
Yes.
To be honest, Phil, I listened to it and I don't think it was difficult for you. You didn't have to say much.
Makes a change.
It's quite easy, if anything.
There's quite a few in there. Is Adrian Lewis finished the top level darts player? Look, we answer this question a lot. He still shows glimpses and signs that he's capable of it, and he is still young enough. He just needs. I think he's a quarter-final away from kicking on again. There's a couple of players just lingering right now that are playing decent enough darts, but just aren't getting results. Look, MVG's one of them this year as well. He's had more 100 averages thrown at him than anybody else on TV and in TV title tournaments this year. That's difficult enough to compete with as it is. When you're not getting the rub of the green, look, there's no science behind it, but sometimes you just keep getting on the end of stinking draws or stinking performances, or your opponent does something brilliant in the right moment, and then you have to go for the drawing board again. You start hitting the practice board more, saying, why is it not working? Trying that a little bit harder, and it can have a negative effect on that as well. But look, he still definitely has the ability. I don't think he's ever going to lose that. Henry asked if the Premier League moved to Cardiff. Look, if them rules are still in place come February, we're in a world of trouble before we get into a COVID debate.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. If them rules are still there, we're in a world of trouble.
Yeah. Look, you never know, but yeah, I can't. It does cause an issue.
Tommy asks, is darts our favourite sport? Well, he's a Man United fan, so it's definitely not football. So I presume it's darts. But Ozzy's a Spurs fan.
So we don't even have the opportunity to answer these questions anymore, Dog.
I'll just do it for you, mate.
Just as football's been your favourite sport for like 3 years, but before that it was just darts, because obviously.
It wasn't like I've played multiple sports. I played basketball for a while. I rowed for a bit. I started playing pool, to be honest. It's only because the pool and darts team at my university were joined that I started playing darts competitively. My ex-partner played, and I used to go and watch their team when I lived back home. But when I moved to uni, I went hunting for a pool team because I was playing county pool at that time. For the first year, I used to travel to Mansfield on a Monday night to play for the county team. I'd had a couple of England trials. I was convinced that was the way I was going, and I started playing a couple of games of darts and started to enjoy it more. And then lived with Kyle Anderson, and you sort of favour darts at that point.
Yeah, there is that. So yeah, no, look, football, darts, boxing are the three that I love. I think, boys, we're just about there. 2 hours has absolutely flown by this evening. Like literally, in the blink of an eye, it's gone. What an absolute belter of a show. Everyone in the chat room that has contributed today has absolutely rocked it for us here at the Online Darts Live Lounge. A few questions about next week. It's the World Series qualifier. I think that's going to be a late start for the qualifier because of timings getting back from Salzburg for certain players. If you get to a final in Salzburg, it's a potential issue getting back for the qualifier. So we will do the live lounge as normal, but if the qualifier is still going on, we will keep you bang up to date with that as it rocks. If not, it just gives us plenty to talk about in the
Well, if
show.
if it's finished in time, then we'll sit and talk about it as part of the show. If not, maybe we do an extra half an hour at the end of the live lounge if we commit to it now. If it's running while we're on, we'll try and give you the odd result, and then we'll have a quick glance over what we've seen and who's going. Look, we're not going to cut out before we know the result of that, basically, next Monday. But if it's still going while we're on, we'll try and keep an eye on it, talk about what we need to, and that sort of thing. We're not going to break away. We're not going to run anything separate. We're not going to split views, basically. It will all be us three chatting our usual nonsense, but yeah.
Yeah. Before we go, May says he's not playing gob at pool for a pint then.
Shouldn't have said that, should I?
But no, everyone, thank you very, very much. You have absolutely smashed the live lounge tonight. We return next week. Plenty of darts coming your way. The live league returns 9:30 tomorrow morning with Murph calling in all the action on our YouTube channel. Then all eyes on Salzburg, and we will bring you live content from Salzburg, keeping you bang up to date with everything that is going on. I've been Phill Bars, joined by Jack Cobby Garwood and Lee Boyce. We are now signing off, and we will see you all next week.
BoyleSports World Grand Prix on Sky Sports.
Let's go.